I did it. I think I hurt someone. The man's voice shook as he spoke into the phone. His breath was fast, like he had been running. In the background, something banged, maybe a door, maybe something worse. Sir, stay on the line, the 911 operator said calmly. What is your name? There was a long pause. My name is Daniel Harper, he finally whispered. Anne. I think she's not moving anymore. The operator sat up straight. Who is not moving, Daniel? Another pause. Then a quiet, broken answer. My wife. The line went silent for a few seconds. Then Daniel spoke again, his voice even lower. But that's not the strange part. I got a call about this before it even happened. The operator froze. What do you mean? I mean, Daniel said, almost crying now, someone told me this would happen, and I didn't believe them. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the phone. Daniel gasped. Oh no, she just... The call cut off. The operator stared at the screen, her heart racing. Police were already on the way. But one question stayed in her mind. What did Daniel mean by before it even happened? 2 days earlier, everything seemed normal. Daniel Harper lived in a quiet town in Ohio. He worked at a small hardware store and liked simple things: morning coffee, evening walks, and watching old movies with his wife, Emily. Emily was kind and funny. She loved baking cookies and planting flowers in their yard. Their house was small, but warm. Nothing about it felt dangerous. On Monday morning, Daniel woke up early. He walked into the kitchen and saw Emily already there, humming while making pancakes. You're up early, he said with a smile. Couldn't sleep, she replied. Bad dream. Daniel poured himself some coffee. About what? Emily paused. I don't remember. Just, something felt wrong. Daniel shrugged it off. It's just a dream. But Emily didn't look convinced. Later that day, Daniel went to work. It was a slow day. Around noon, his phone rang. He didn't recognize the number. Hello, he answered. At first, there was only silence. Then a voice spoke. It sounded like him. Daniel, the voice said, shaky and afraid. Listen to me. You need to leave the house tonight. Daniel frowned. Who is this? No time, the voice rushed. Something bad is going to happen. Emily. The call ended. Daniel stared at his phone. His hands felt cold. That was weird, his co-worker Jake said from across the counter. Spam call. Daniel forced a laugh. Yeah, probably. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. That evening, Daniel came home. Emily greeted him with a hug. Long day, she asked. Not really, he said, trying to act normal. They ate dinner together. They laughed. They watched TV. Everything seemed fine. But Daniel kept thinking about the call. Around 9 p.m., his phone buzzed again. Same number. His heart started beating faster. He answered. Daniel, the voice said again. Why are you still there? Daniel's stomach dropped. Who is this? He demanded. It's you, the voice whispered. From later. You need to listen this time. Daniel's hands began to shake. This isn't funny, he said. Stop calling me. You don't understand, the voice pleaded. If you stay, Emily is going to. A loud noise came from the living room. Glass shattered. Emily screamed. Daniel dropped the phone and ran. When he reached the living room, he froze. The window was broken. Cold air rushed in. And standing inside the house was a man Daniel had never seen before. The man smiled. And in his hand was a knife. The man with the knife didn't rush forward. He just stood there, smiling. Daniel felt like his feet were stuck to the floor. His heart pounded so loud, it was all he could hear. Emily was backed against the wall, shaking. Who are you? Daniel asked, his voice barely coming out. The man tilted his head, like he was thinking about the question. That's not important, he said softly. What matters is, you already know why I'm here. Daniel's stomach twisted. The strange calls. The warning. No, Daniel said quickly. I don't know you. You need to leave. Right now. The man took one slow step forward. Emily let out a small cry. You were told to leave tonight, the man said, looking straight at Daniel. But you didn't listen. Daniel's breath caught. How do you know that? he whispered. The man smiled wider. Because, he said, raising the knife slightly, I'm here to make sure it happens the way it's supposed to. Daniel didn't understand. None of this made sense. Stay back, Daniel shouted, grabbing a chair and holding it in front of him. The man stopped walking. For a moment, everything was still. Then, the lights went out. The room dropped into darkness. Emily screamed again. Daniel, she cried. I'm here, he said quickly, trying to find her in the dark. There was a sudden thud. Then the sound of something falling. Emily! Daniel shouted. No answer. His hands shook as he fumbled for his phone. The screen lit up, casting a small glow. The living room looked empty. The broken window. The cold air. The chair lying on its side. But no man. And no Emily. Emily! Daniel called again, his voice breaking. Then he heard it. A soft sound. From the kitchen. Daniel moved slowly, each step careful. His heart felt like it might explode. As he reached the kitchen doorway, he saw her. Emily was on the floor. Not moving. Emily! Daniel rushed to her side, dropping to his knees. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was slow. Too slow. Wake up, please, he begged, gently shaking her. No response. Then Daniel noticed something that made his blood run cold. There was no blood. No wound. Nothing that showed what had happened. It was like she had just stopped. Emily, please, he whispered, tears filling his eyes. His phone buzzed in his hand. Daniel looked down. Same number. His chest tightened. With shaking fingers, he answered. Hello, he said, barely able to speak. The voice came back. His voice. You're too late, it said. Daniel's eyes filled with fear. What did you do? Who are you? I told you to leave, the voice said. Now it started. What started? Daniel shouted. A pause. Then the voice spoke again, slower this time. This is the part where you think it was someone else. Daniel froze. What? He whispered. But soon, the voice continued, you'll realize the truth. Daniel felt like he couldn't breathe. What truth? He asked. There was one last sentence. You were never trying to stop it. You were trying to warn yourself. The call ended. Daniel stared at the phone. Then slowly, he looked down at his hands. They were shaking. But that wasn't what scared him. What scared him was the small, dark stain on his sleeve. Daniel's eyes widened. I didn't, he whispered. I didn't touch anything. His mind raced. The man. The knife. The darkness. The voice. Nothing made sense. But one thought began to grow louder than all the others. What if the man was never real? Suddenly, Emily gasped. Daniel jumped back in shock. Her eyes flew open. But something was wrong. Very wrong. She looked at Daniel. Like she didn't recognize him. And then, in a quiet, empty voice, she said, Why did you do this to me? Why did you do this to me? Emily's voice was soft, but it felt like a punch. Daniel shook his head fast. No, no, Emily, I didn't do anything. There was a man he broke in, he had a knife. Emily slowly tried to sit up. She winced, like her body hurt in a way she couldn't explain. There was no man, she said weakly. Daniel felt cold all over. What? No, you saw him. He was right there. Emily looked around the room. The broken window. The fallen chair. The dark kitchen. I heard the glass break, she said. But when I turned, I only saw you. Daniel's heart skipped. That's not true, he said quickly. You're confused. You hit your head or something. Emily stared at him, her eyes searching his face. Daniel, she whispered, you were holding something. His breath caught. What do you mean? A knife, she said. The word hung in the air. Daniel stepped back. No, that's not possible. Emily's eyes filled with tears. You were just standing there, shaking, and then the lights went out. Daniel grabbed his head. No, that's not what happened. But even as he said it, his memory felt blurry. Like pieces were missing. He remembered the man. The smile. The knife. But now, it felt far away. like a dream that didn't fully make sense. "Listen to me," Daniel said, trying to stay calm. "We need to call for help. Something is wrong. Really wrong." Emily didn't answer. She just kept looking at him, like she was afraid. Daniel's hands trembled as he picked up his phone again. He stared at the screen for a second, then pressed call. It rang. Once. Twice. Then. 911, what is your emergency? Daniel opened his mouth. But no words came out. He looked at Emily. She looked back at him, still scared. Daniel started. But then something strange happened. The voice on the phone changed. "Daniel." His blood ran cold. It was the same voice again. His voice. "You're calling now?" it asked. "That's later than before." Daniel's hand shook. "What is going on?" he shouted. "Why do you sound like me?" "Because I am you," the voice said. "And you're running out of time." "I didn't do anything." Daniel cried. There was a man he broke in. He hurt Emily. "No," the voice said calmly. "You broke the window." Daniel froze. "You picked up the knife," the voice continued. "You just don't remember it yet." "That's a lie." Daniel shouted. Emily flinched at his voice. "Look at your hands," the voice said. Daniel slowly looked down. His fingers were shaking. And now he could see it clearly. More dark stains. Not just on his sleeve. On his hands. "No," he whispered. "No, this isn't real." "You're trying to protect yourself," the voice said. "Your mind is hiding the truth." Daniel felt dizzy. "I would never hurt her," he said, his voice breaking. "I know," the voice replied. "That's why this is happening." "What does that mean?" Daniel yelled. There was a long pause. Then, "Do you remember the dream?" the voice asked. Daniel blinked. "What dream?" "Emily told you this morning," the voice said. "She said something felt wrong." Daniel's heart raced. "You didn't ask her what she saw," the voice continued. "You didn't want to know." Daniel looked at Emily. She was watching him, confused, scared. "What did you dream about?" Daniel asked her quickly. Emily hesitated. Then she spoke, very slowly. "I saw you," she said. "Standing in the dark, holding something, and calling my name." Daniel felt like the floor dropped under him. "And then?" he asked. Emily swallowed. "And then I couldn't move," she said. "I tried to scream, but nothing came out." Daniel's chest tightened. "And you just kept saying, 'It's already happened.'" The phone in Daniel's hand buzzed again. Another call. Same number. Daniel stared at it. The voice on the current call whispered one last thing. "Answer it." The line went dead. Daniel's hand shook as he stared at the new call. Emily whispered, "Don't pick it up." But Daniel couldn't stop himself. He answered. Slowly. Carefully. "Hello." At first, there was only breathing. Then, a calm voice spoke. Not scared. Not rushed. Just cold. "Daniel," it said, "this is where you finally understand." Daniel's heart pounded. "Understand what?" he asked. There was a small pause. Then the voice said something that made his blood turn to ice. "The man you saw." Another pause. "Was you." "The man you saw, was you." The words echoed in Daniel's head. "No," he said quickly, shaking his head. "That's not possible. I was right here. I saw him. He was standing by the window." Emily pulled herself back, her eyes wide with fear. "Daniel, please," she whispered. "Put the phone down." But Daniel couldn't move. The voice on the phone continued, calm and cold. "You're remembering it wrong," it said. "Your mind changed the picture so you wouldn't panic." "I didn't do anything." Daniel shouted. "I would never hurt her." "I know you wouldn't mean to," the voice replied. "That's why you tried to stop it." Daniel froze. "What do you mean?" he asked. "You called yourself," the voice said. "Twice. You tried to warn yourself to leave the house." Daniel's breathing grew fast. "No. I got those calls earlier today," he said. "That was before any of this happened." "Yes," the voice said. "For you, it was before." Daniel felt dizzy again. "But for me," the voice continued, "it already happened." Daniel's hand tightened around the phone. "That doesn't make sense," he whispered. "It will," the voice said. "When you remember everything." Daniel closed his eyes tight. "I don't want to remember," he said. There was silence on the line. Then, "You have to," the voice replied. Suddenly, Daniel's head filled with flashes. Quick images. Broken pieces. The window. His hand picking up something from the kitchen. Emily calling his name. The sound of glass shattering. "No," Daniel whispered, grabbing his head. "You heard a noise," the voice said slowly, guiding him. "You thought someone broke in." Daniel's eyes opened wide. "I grabbed the knife," he said, his voice shaking. "Yes," the voice confirmed. "I told Emily to stay back," Daniel continued. Emily watched him, tears running down her face. "I walked into the living room," Daniel said. His hands trembled harder. "And then?" the voice asked. Daniel's breathing stopped. "I saw someone," he whispered. "No," the voice said gently. "You saw your reflection." Daniel froze. "The window was dark," the voice explained. "Like a mirror." Daniel's mind raced. "The man," he said slowly, "the man I saw." "Was you," the voice finished. Daniel stumbled backward, almost falling. "No, no, that's not right." "You got scared," the voice said. "You thought he was an intruder." Daniel shook his head, but more memories pushed in. "I moved closer," he whispered. "You raised the knife," the voice said. "I told him to stop," Daniel said. Emily covered her mouth, crying. "And then the glass broke," Daniel said, his voice cracking. "You swung first," the voice said. Daniel's knees felt weak. "I didn't mean to," he whispered. "The window shattered," the voice continued. The reflection disappeared. Daniel felt like he couldn't breathe. "And Emily?" he asked softly. There was a pause. Then, "She ran toward you," the voice said. "She was trying to help." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "I thought," he said, shaking. "I thought she was the man." Emily let out a small sob. "No," Daniel whispered. "No, I wouldn't." "You didn't know," the voice said. "It was dark. You were scared." Daniel's body went still. "And then," he said, his voice almost gone. I. You pushed her," the voice said. The words hit like thunder. Daniel looked at Emily. She was holding her side, breathing unevenly. "There was no stab," the voice continued. "No blood. She fell. She hit the floor hard." Daniel's legs gave out. He dropped to his knees. "I hurt her," he said. Emily didn't answer. She just stared at him, with fear and sadness. "I didn't mean to," Daniel cried. "Emily, I didn't mean to." The phone stayed silent for a moment. Then the voice spoke again. "This is the part where you call 911, it said. Daniel looked at the phone in his hand. "And this time," the voice added, "you tell the truth." Daniel's heart pounded. "The truth," he repeated. "Yes," the voice said. "Because what you say next is what changes everything." Daniel slowly raised the phone back to his ear. His hands shaking. Emily whispered, "Daniel, what are you going to say?" Daniel swallowed hard. Tears ran down his face. I don't know," he said. The voice gave one final instruction. "Say exactly what you remember." Daniel took a deep, shaky breath. Then he pressed the phone closer. As the line connected, and the operator answered, "I did it. I think I hurt someone." Daniel's voice shook as he spoke into the phone. His chest felt tight, like he couldn't get enough air. "Sir, stay on the line," the operator said calmly. "What is your name?" "My name is Daniel Harper," he whispered. "And, my wife, she fell. I thought someone was in the house. I was wrong." There was a short pause. "Is she breathing?" the operator asked. Daniel looked at Emily. She was on the floor, weak, but alive. Her chest moved slowly. "Yes," he said quickly. "She's breathing. She's awake, but she's hurt." "Help is on the way," the operator said. "Stay with her. Do not hang up." Daniel nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "I'm here," he said softly to Emily. "I'm right here." Emily didn't speak at first. She just looked at him, tears in her eyes. "I thought you were someone else," Daniel said, his voice breaking. I thought I was protecting us. Emily swallowed, her voice weak. I know, you looked so scared. Daniel held her hand gently. I'm so sorry. For a moment, the house was quiet except for their breathing and the soft voice of the operator guiding him. Then, the operator spoke again. Daniel, earlier, you said something unusual. Daniel blinked. What do you mean? You said you got a call about this before it happened, she said. Can you explain that? Daniel's hand tightened around the phone. He looked at Emily. Then he spoke slowly. I think it was me, he said. The operator paused. What do you mean? I think I called myself, Daniel said. From after this happened. The room felt colder. I tried to warn myself to leave the house, he continued. But I didn't listen. Emily stared at him, confused. That doesn't make sense, the operator said carefully. I know, Daniel replied. But it's the only thing that fits. There was a long silence. Then, faint in the distance. Sirens. Getting closer. They're coming, the operator said. You're doing the right thing, Daniel. Just stay calm. Daniel nodded again, his eyes still on Emily. I almost made it worse, he whispered. If I didn't remember, if I didn't tell the truth. Emily squeezed his hand weakly. You did, she said. You told the truth. The sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights flashed through the broken window. A few moments later, the front door burst open. Police! Stay where you are. Daniel raised his free hand slowly. I'm here, he said. I called. My wife is hurt. Officers rushed in, followed by paramedics. One officer knelt beside Emily. We're going to help you, okay? She nodded faintly. Another officer looked at Daniel. Sir, I need you to step back. Daniel carefully let go of Emily's hand and moved away. His heart felt heavy. One paramedic checked Emily's pulse. She's stable, he said. Possible concussion. We need to get her to the hospital. Daniel let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. As they lifted Emily onto a stretcher, she looked at him. I'll be okay, she said softly. Daniel nodded, tears in his eyes. I'll be right behind you. The officer gently placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Sir, we need to ask you some questions, he said. Daniel didn't resist. I understand, he replied quietly. As Emily was carried out, the flashing lights filled the room. Broken glass covered the floor. The cold night air still moved through the house. Everything felt different now. The officer looked at Daniel. Start from the beginning. Daniel took a deep breath. I thought someone broke in, he said. But it was just me, seeing my own reflection. The officer nodded slowly. And the call, he asked. You really believe you called yourself? Daniel hesitated. I don't know how, he admitted. But I know I heard my own voice. And it tried to stop me. The officer studied him for a moment. Then he said, sometimes, when people are scared, their minds do strange things. Daniel looked down at his hands. Maybe that was true. Maybe the calls were just his mind trying to protect him. Or maybe it was something else. Later that night, Daniel sat alone in the back of a police car. Not as a criminal, but as someone who had to explain what happened. An officer approached him. Your wife is going to be okay, he said. Daniel closed his eyes in relief. Thank you, he whispered. The officer paused, then added, there's just one more thing. Daniel looked up. We checked your phone records, the officer said. The calls you received. Daniel's heart started beating faster. They didn't come from your number. Daniel froze. What? He asked. The officer frowned. They came from a line that doesn't exist. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. He stared at his phone, sitting in his lap. Slowly, it buzzed. A new message appeared. Unknown sender. Daniel's hands trembled as he opened it. There were only 6 words. You still have time to fix it. Daniel's breath caught. Fix what? He looked up quickly. But the street was empty. Silent. And for the first time that night, Daniel wasn't sure if the worst part was over. Or if it was just beginning.